We have 2 new augments dropping today, and I'm sure you have a question. Is Georgia good? My answer is that's what this video is for. What do you mean that wasn't your question? This is taken from the patch notes of the official CN account, and the translation: Georgia gets a new unique augment, and the complete list of new unique augments can be viewed in the game. They deliberately did not mention Shirayuki for some reason, and this is just baseless speculation on my part, but maybe the CCP is still salty about Hololive, but that's none of my business. So Georgia Augment plus 10% firepower and 10% hit stat takes her barrage chance from 80% to 100%, and it improves the barrage by adding 6 bombs or lasers or something. The augment is called Georgia Beam, and this new part of her barrage applies a debuff to the enemy's hit so that Georgia does 10% more damage to them, and that debuff transfers to the nearest enemy on death. So it could work in mobbing, but still she doesn't have a really wide damage barrage, so Georgia is still going to be better for bossing than for mob. And the augment itself gives 35 firepower and 20 hit. The purple augment, Officer Sword, gives 20 hits, so that's basically 35 extra firepower, which is about 3.5% more damage. And overall, the augment gives her plus 60% single target boss damage, which brings her to top 1 gold battleship against medium or heavy armor against these hull types, because that's written in her skills. She does 20% extra damage to these hull types, and she does 10% extra damage to carriers. Damage calculation wise, she doesn't get any bonus against DDs and CLs, and those are usually light armor, so light DPS is not so impressive. But for the hull types that she gets 20% or 10% bonus against, those are usually medium and heavy, and medium and heavy DPS are insane. Highest of all gold battleships, even beating New Jersey, but this is just personal damage, it doesn't count New Jersey's special armor break that busts other BBs in the fleet. But still highest medium and heavy damage by far of all gold battleships. They're really cooking with these PR ship augments. Then we have Shirayuki augment. She's a purple ship, so I'm not sure what you're gonna expect here. Just a bunch of torpedo and odd crit damage buffs. The double torpedo chance goes from 30% to 100%. So overall this augment gives her also a 60% increase in damage. But bro, so what? She's still a garbage ship. The damage is solid for a purple ship, but not a hard carry, and it's not going to carry her absolute garbage tankiness, which was 58% of Portland before the augment, and the augment only gave 15 evasion stat, which is basically nothing. So I'd imagine she's like 59 or 60% now, but we can wait for the verdict from Meebot. And that's her personal DPS. It's heavy leaning, and it's basically the opposite of Laffy retrofit, so Laffy's leaning light and Shirayuki's leaning heavy. I added 2 more not so useful reference points, just for fun. So on the tier list, Georgia is a mix of A tier and B tier, similar to Omi and Dyson, the other 2 in the top 3 gold battleships. Overall, still slightly worse than New Jersey, but Georgia's damage output against bosses is just really good. And I skipped the tier list for Shirayuki because she's gonna be all B tier, nothing to see there. So in the end, are these augments worth getting? The problem is that new players cannot get or max Georgia early without money, because she needs 810 Eagle Union tech points to start. But in the mid game, like chapter 12, and maybe when you get enough tech points, you would do Georgia before Anchorage. Georgia is very strong for new players or mid game players with worse gear. Just give Georgia a fast main gun, and her barrage will carry well over half of her damage. So Georgia Beam is the 4th S tier unique augment. S tier for new players, and A tier for established players. It brings her to the top of gold ships, but we have a lot of rainbow battleships. And Shirayuki, nobody cares. C tier. 3 example gear sets, although if you've gotten 810 Eagle Union tech points and then had time to coin her up to Dev 30 or Fleet Sim 5, then I would expect you to have a better choice than this Twin 128. But anyways, recall that Georgia is best against medium and heavy bosses, so like AP guns. But if she must fight a light armor boss, then obviously bring an HG gun like these. And that's it. I guess the other PR2 ships will have augments trickling in over the next year, and we'll see how the devs cook.